Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel. As of late, as you can tell, we're doing this setting again because honestly, I actually really like the lighting here and I think it looks really nice for video wise. So I'm kind of trying to utilize the space for a little, try to utilize the space in the future if I can. But this is literally where everything goes down with the family. So like, we'll see. We'll see if this is doable for the future, but I'm just digging the lighting here. So I'm just gonna try to use this for now, but as I have the home for myself at the moment, I want to do this quick little video just because I've already recorded it once and I don't think I articulated my thoughts well. And frankly, I don't think I really need to dedicate too much time to this because I have already discussed this a few times, but I just want to kind of give a little more of I guess a little more of a fleshed out perspective just because I don't think in the past I've like articulated it well. So I just want to do it now just because I have my thoughts and I want to be able to bring them out before I lose them. So today I want to discuss superheroes, and kind of timely because we do have a new Superman movie on the way, and we have a trailer that was put out. We'll discuss it in the news roundup, um, but there's been questions about the fate of this genre, where things are going, what does it mean? I think that it's a bigger discussion because it's not just in regards to what is happening to the specific genre and all that. I think that what the genre represents ultimately, towards the industry, I think is very important, and I think that the change, as it were, that is to come in the next few years, I think is also very important. So, because let's examine superhero films, right? I mean, let's just examine that. You know, superhero films, I mean, let's just call it as it is. They have been for many, many years extremely, extremely profitable and extremely marketable. Like, there's so much value that came with superhero films for the longest time, especially within the vein of Marvel Studios. And ever since that of like 2019, these movies were just bringing in like millions upon billions of dollars, and they'd be extremely, extremely profitable through, just a lot of discussions that would be had online, storylines that would be meeting their conclusions or still being built up, and just by just word of mouth, just collective interest that has been there now for almost this past decade. Um, so that's how it used to be. Now, where things are right now is, and we've discussed it a few times, we're on a down period, and I really doubt that this down period is gonna fade away. I really doubt it because I think that where we are right now is we are at a decline because 2019 really was a peak when it came to superheroes. Not only financially, because we have Endgame, which came out and became one of the biggest films of all time. I think the biggest opening of all time. I think. Um, so, and within that film itself, there was a conclusion. There was a sense of finale, all of that, and now coming off of that, you have to now rebuild. And same thing with other companies like DC at the time. They were in a rebuilding stage as well, still toying with the idea of a reboot, and now here we are with them rebooting everything. So, so, you know, things where they are at right now, currently, is, because there's really, that's two reasons why these films are not doing as well as they used to, and frankly, why they're not going to get back to the place of an Avengers Endgame. Because you're never ever going to get an Avengers Endgame. Like financially speaking, that's never going to happen again. Because I know we got another Avengers something coming out like in the next 2 or 3 years. Trust me, that film is not going to make close to what Endgame made. Because two reasons why. The first reason is very obvious, as I laid out. It's also, I think, a large reason as to why people are just not showing up to these things as much and being more selective. There just isn't a story. Okay, can you tell me the story that's been going on now with Marvel ever since 2019, ever since this whole multiverse saga period has started? Has there really been much of a story? Because when you go look back with the whole Marvel saga that was with the Infinity War and all that stuff, there was Thanos. There was a story there, there was something that was being supplied, trickled throughout each film to when you get to an Infinity War, the background elements felt more significant, and now they're in the forefront, and it feels as though that there is some weight because of all the little nuggets that have been supplied to us throughout the years. Whereas here, with this new phase, as they say, this new phase, there's just nothing going on. And I know there was a plan. I know that they were going to do something with Jonathan Majors, and we've discussed Jonathan Majors before also about just, all his court stuff and kind of a scumbag that he turned out to be. Um, and, that's the fault, I think, of the studio trying to revolve their story, catering their story towards one specific actor. Whereas with Thanos, he was just a background element. He was not something that was integral to each specific film. He was just there, just something in the background. With this specific character they're trying to do, Kane, he was dead in movies, he was in the TV shows, like he was in a lot of content. And he was out there in the front. Like I think in the Ant-Man film recently, he was like the main villain, right? So, when you make him that integral, whereas Thanos, he's just always looming in the background, but he's not in the movies per se. He's just there. He's just kind of just sitting around. Whereas, Kane is up and just like fighting and, making a big mark on how integral he is to the story. Like with the Loki show, how everything's wrapped up there. Like it just became so important to when you take that element out, now all of a sudden there is just no reason for things to exist or function, or really, for my viewing, there's just not a purpose anymore as to where the story is going outside of just notable character, multiverse, blah blah blah. And that's basically what's been going on now. Just let's just try to revive old characters, let's just bring in notable names. That's kind of literally what Deadpool and Wolverine was, at least to the outside looking in. And also why a film like Deadpool Wolverine did as well as it did, because it's using existing and notable characters, not, utilizing a storyline that, where you can introduce new characters and it feels like there's a significance. You know what I'm saying? So I mean that's really what is going on, because I know Marvel was a big part of it. DC is a part of it, but DC, what their issue has been is just um, their issue has been a lot more with maintaining maintaining a sense of story, whereas Marvel has lost a sense of story. So they had a story, they finished it, and now they try to do a new one, and we're still waiting for that story to start. And that's why I left. Like I left Marvel almost cold turkey. I want to say after, yeah, Black Panther 2, I just stopped cold turkey. I was like, you know what, I'm just done. I don't feel the need to continue, because I didn't watch the TV shows, I didn't watch this and that. I just stopped cold turkey, and frankly, I just still don't see a need. And that extends further than that. If like comic books, movies in general, I make exceptions. You know, as much as DC doesn't have a level of consistency, what they do have is a sense of daring. Like they at least are wanting to do something of a challenge. Like say what you will about Folia Dukes, but Folia Dukes is one of the more unique films in this genre. I mean, it just is. Is a great no, but as a story, in terms of how it approaches its story, it is a lot more nuanced than lots of other films that I can mention in this genre. Um, but but getting off track here. But point being is that in terms of a marketable thing, in terms of a thread, in terms of generating a conversation per se with all these films, there isn't a story there, a lingering sense of story, a building up type quality. There just nothing of that nature is there. So, and that's a large reasons why a lot of people are jumping off, because there's just nothing of a big story going on. So, and the second thing is kind of what I just kind of alluded to, quality. A lot of these films have not been great, as far as I've been told. A lot of these films have not been great, and a lot of that is attributed to the fact that there's a formula that these films utilize that also extends, further than that, and just kind of is just the mainstream way of making films now. It's just when it comes to big budget blockbusters, there's a formula that takes place. And that formula may in fact be originated from this genre, or it just became the stereotype, over the years. Um, but they bathe in that, and this genre specifically bathes in that. Rarely do they extend further out of that with doing something like a Folie à Deux. It rarely does that. And even when the films are good, I still acknowledge when that formula is still there, you know. And it's become more evident now because of a lack of a story, of because of a lack of appeal, a lack of an extension. Like, where is the story in the background to supply the interest of the forefront elements? Why is it that I need to watch the next Captain Marvel? Why is it that I need to watch the next Black Panther? Why do I need to watch the next Thor or watch this brand new character? What's the point of that if there's not going to be a story that makes them feel important, outside of just this individual arc? It's that's what audiences want, and that's what you've been supplying for the past 10 years. So I don't know what else you'd expect the audience to want. They're not just going to take the character. They want to know what the character means to the universe, and that's the unfortunate thing about, building up a universe, building up a franchise, is that there becomes these expectations of how integral and how they function within the series, and not just on their own as characters. I mean, of course, that's a part of it too, but people want to know what is so important about them. Why should I care? And the answers to that is making them, valuable to an overarching storyline. But if there is no overarching storyline, it doesn't make their significance to be that important. It makes them feel less, as a result. And I'm just speaking as someone who has watched these films. Just as a viewer, that's just kind of how it feels like when you're watching these movies. You just are wondering, okay, are they going to be like a part of the Avengers team and all that stuff? Because let's just be real. When you're watching the Marvel movies, all you're caring about at the end of the day is, what does this mean for the Avengers films? That's all you're really caring about. You're not caring about, I mean, you do care to some extent depending on how it's done, but really you're caring about what the hell is going on with that next Avengers movie, because that's where the story continues. There's like, you have the individual stories and it's like a little pause, but then the play button goes once you go to the Avengers movies, and that's what really counts at the end of the day. Um, and I mean, can you really say anything about the next one outside of just a splurge of just random actors and people who are just gonna be like celebrity cameos and whatever like that? Like, that's pretty much what it's gonna be. And is that really a storyline, or is that just a Hail Mary attempt to just get interest, to generate some kind of interest? That's what it seems like to me anyway. So, but I think that ultimately, just to close it out, just because, it really does fall into those two camps, those two reasons. It's a lot to do with a lack of story, a lack of some kind of story going on, and just general quality. People are just not feeling the trend of formulaic storytelling, and again, it just doesn't hold as much value. Audiences are craving more. I think that audiences are craving more purpose. They want they want everything to derive from a purpose that extends further from just the film itself. And I don't like to think that way. I like to think more about just like individual storytelling and how good that functions on its own. And I don't really give a shit about the universe per se. But that's not ultimately what people go to these movies for. They want to see how these functions towards the universe and stuff like that. And really, as it is, there's just not that much going on in terms of a story. And a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that they just had something, and they unfortunately were with a real shitty person in Jonathan Majors, and they're scrambling. They're trying to find some way to make the story work, even though they've basically have, put everything on that actor, and that wasn't a smart thing to do. So, but like I said, there's no real story going on, and for another, as I said, the quality has just been real flat, real formulaic, real samey. Like that's, I think, why people are also falling out, because it's just, and also, you know what? I'll also give you a third reason, and it's like we kind of discussed it. People are very like when people are just not in with the formula. All that's going to drive them to go see something is familiarity. So that's why Deadpool Wolverine did as well as it did, it's because it's Deadpool and it's Wolverine and it's characters that they have built up and have a fan base for. So when you put them together, obviously you're going to get more interest than something like Captain Marvel 2 or a brand new character that hasn't made an appearance ever. It's like, it's just not going to, you know, it's just not going to reign as much because, again, what's the story? Well, why should I care? What's so important about this character that that deserves my time and my money rather than just going and seeing Deadpool Wolverine for the second time? So so I mean, so those are your reasons, and we've discussed it before too. Like, I truly believe that the genre is just going to become what it was in the 2000s, where you just get a few here and there, something like maybe 2 or 3 a year tops. Not like how freaking crowded it is, because the fatigue is real. I mean, the fatigue also stems from just the amount of content that is put out now, because so much of it. Like, it's the same thing with Star Wars. Like, it's just so much, and eventually you just get exhausted. It's just like, how many shows, how many movies do I got to watch to understand the next thing, or how many things do I got to do to catch up on whatever storyline they're trying to do right now? Like, it just becomes a lot, and it just becomes very daunting, and also, just like I said, just exhausting. It's just like, do I really want to watch 10 movies to understand something so minor, something that could be done, summed up in like a sentence or two? Because again, like I said, it's just not that important or not that enriched or in depth. It's just summed up in one sentence. One person is in this universe while the other person's in that universe. It's like, that's it. That's all you need to say. I don't need to watch 4 or 5 movies to understand that. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just a lot, and that's why people just tune out, because it's just too much. So I think that the best option for is just to scale it back and just to not do as many. And that's, I really think it's going to happen in like maybe 5 or 10 years time. Like, I really do believe that in like a decade or so, the genre is not going to be the same as it once was. I think that we're going to be scaling it back quite a bit into what it was in the early 2000s, where you have just like I said, like 2 or 3 at a time. Sorry, the sun is just getting in my face. My bad. The sun is just literally getting in my face. That's just sorry. Um, but yeah, I just think that things are going to get brought back down, and I think that in terms of what is going to be getting more attention, I think personally, I think that you're going to be seeing a lot more horror. I think horror is really going to be taking center stage in the next coming years because, one, it is cheap. It is cheap. It is easy, and there is a lot less of a steep hill to climb on when it comes to making the money back, because these films all are expensive. Deadpool Wolverine, just generally speaking, was a $300 million investment. The Avengers movies are probably like close to that, maybe even more. It's a lot of money, and with less interest nowadays, it's just like it's hard to justify those investments. But it's a lot easier to go ahead and make a horror film for like $10 million or something like that, and more times than none, people are going to go see that movie rather than a superhero thing. So, because theatrically speaking, the horror genre is so much more suitable for the theater. It's a classic thing. I mean, you go on a date, right? Which movie are you gonna go see with your girl? Are you gonna go see a movie that is about people in leotards and caves and stuff like that, or are you gonna go watch a scary thing? Like classic dating option. I mean, come on, it's gonna be a horror film. So um, it's like it's just a lot more suitable, a lot more financially comfortable. There's just a lot more benefits to horror than there are superhero films nowadays. Not to say that there isn't any benefits at all. It's just to say you need to understand the volume. You need to understand that it is not on the same tier as it was in 2019. Hence, you need to like scale it down, way down. And I think that to what it was in the 2000s, I think is really where we're going to be come 10 years down the line. That's just my guess anyway. But yeah, it is just not the same as it used to be. You can say the pandemic, you could say the wave of streaming, but I think it also stems from just the volume of content that has been put out and just the lack of consistency in terms of a narrative. There's just not a story there to supply these movies, and people crave that. It's like a TV show. You go ahead and watch like 5 or 6 episodes. If there's not a story that is taking place that feels as though these 5 or 6 episodes are building up to something, people are not going to care. They're going to drop off because people want something of progression, in terms of mainstream, like big, like franchise building or whatever like that. They want to see something of consistency. I personally don't really care about that. Like I said, I like individual storytelling. I crave that more than the world building aspects. I don't care about that shit. But a lot of people do. And a lot of people want to see that. And when that's not there, like I said, people are just not going to really tune in if there isn't that. So, and financially speaking, with that, you need to scale down. You need to either scale down on how many projects you're doing or just cut down on the cost of things, which we'll get into in my, because I'm gonna do a year recap. We're gonna talk about the budgets and stuff like that because that has been a big issue these past couple of years with how much money has been put into film. Um, but but yeah, I think that the genre is just heading in a down decline. We tracked it for almost a year on this channel. I've done videos on this. I'll leave them here for you guys to see, where we talked about just how film is, or how superhero films are devolving and people's interest is declining. It's been happening like for about almost a good year now, and this year I think has been a lot more solidified, and it's just going to become bigger as the years go on. There will be some exceptions, like anything else. There will be exceptions. There will be, um, um, there will be uh, some outliers to that, but generally speaking, people are just not feeling superheroes as much as they used to, and I think that's just where things are gonna keep on going. It's not gonna change where it's gonna be a huge 180. It's just not going to be that way. So, but those are my thoughts on how I think the genre has been devolving for the past couple of years, and why I think that something like horror is just going to take center stage and superheroes are eventually going to be taking a little bit of a backseat. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section below in regards to the superhero genre. If you guys are still watching, a lot of the modern superhero films, like I said, I've been tuned out since like 2022, so I have not watched any really much, not much of anything superhero related for the past like 2 years. So you guys let me know if you guys are all caught up in that stuff, if there's been any real story, has the quality been good, whatever like that. Let me know your thoughts. And do you guys think that there is a decline, or do you guys think things are actually getting better? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.